And then I have to make a measurement to measure these 2 bands of petals we're going to be drawing. So what I might do is go to the edge of my yantra. When there's 1 petal band, we take the whole lot. When it's 2, I usually come into this amount. So can you see that? Is that helpful? I'm going to close my compass. At least I'm going to try it. This is a little trial and error usually. And I think that could be a good distance. And I might actually just go to the very edge of my yantra. Then I'm going to come in again and eyeball the second band. So the first band came from me placing my compass there. Oh, actually there. On the very edge and drawing that line. Then I came in 1. Then I'm going to go in again from the inside 1, make a circle, make a mark across the line. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm actually going to go out. So there's a little bit, I'm just using my eyes, because in the end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the center, and that circle, right, that last circle is going to be how we're going to find our central star in the yantra. Then I'll go back and make these bands. This is a kind of nice practice in itself, all the circles in the moon. Moon is very circular. Oftentimes we think of the moon as out of time and space, out of linear time, actually. So things like daydreaming, out of linear time. Okay, so now we have 2 petal bands and enough room for the star in the center. So the first thing that we'll look at is how do I divide this into 16 and this into 8? Actually, we have to start with the 8 and then we multiply that to get the 16. So what that means is go to this circle, close your compass. So it's going to take 1 section from the diagonal line to the vertical. And you're going to make a little crisscross. Actually, you can just make the, well, I guess you can. Sometimes I just do the bottom. Then you put the metal where the lead was and the lead where the metal was. Cross that line, or both lines if you have space. So I just divided that space. Then I'll take my ruler. I'll look for the center of the yantra. I'll look for those crisscrosses. And I'm going to draw a line very lightly through the outer rings. So there's a line now through here. Then I'll take my compass. So we have to do the 8 first, and then we do the 16. Then I'll go back in and draw the flowers. This is for the measuring. Right now I'm just making sure that that line is truly halfway. It looks pretty good. Then I'm going to take my metal point, put it in the center, and draw a semicircle. Then I'll go around and make 8 semicircles. Oh. Dig it in. Sometimes you have to dig it in with it. They're smaller circles. Dig it in and lean a little bit. That's one of the tricks. Dig. See how I'm not vertical? I'm kind of leaning. That can be helpful. Other lunar things are things that are reflective. So things like the ocean, the lake. Imagine a moon, the reflection of a moon on a lake. That would be a very lunar image. Anything to do with water. Pools of water. You find the center and you put your ruler in the center and you look for the points where the semicircles meet. So for example, I'll go through the center there. So you go through the center, through the point where two semicircles meet, and in the outer ring, I'll draw a line. So see? So I basically divided that by 2. So I'll go around and do that in a few more places. Most important thing is it's going through that center. And just as a flower, a natural flower, may not be absolute feet of geometry, right? Some of the flower petals will be a little unique in their shape. No two petals probably are exactly alike. So too, you can be a little forgiving with this process with the flower petals. Don't worry if it doesn't look absolutely mechanical. It's kind of nice to get a free-form look to the petals. However, you want them to be evenly spaced because your eyes, when you look at a yantra, your eyes start at the edge and they come into the center. So if everything's nicely proportioned, it makes it easier for your eyes to come to the center. Then what we're going to do is we're going to divide this line again. So we're going to take our compass. This time you're coming to the outer ring. The base of the outer ring is there. So you'll have that measurement. And I'm going to bisect that. You know, Harish Johari, when he talked about the moon, always talked about twice. Always do everything twice. The moon is number 2 and it likes doing things twice. So today I seem to be doing these crisscrosses twice, which I honestly don't always do. Sometimes I just do them once, and that seems to be enough. The moon is very empathetic, so you could say, and it's reflective, right? So it becomes a good listener. So to be a good listener or to be empathetic, there needs to be another to be empathetic to. So that's already 2. The number 2, not just the number 1. Very heart-centered energy, listening, loving. The moon is love and devotion. So now I have that space. I'll put my compass point directly underneath the navel, the bindu, with my yantra, and I'll come around to that new line I just drew, and I'll draw that semicircle. So now I'm going to go around. Actually, I'll go this way. It doesn't really matter for this part whether you go clockwise or anti-clockwise. When I do the drawing, I usually go clockwise, and the coloring, or maybe I'll go. Actually, it's good just to make a decision. Here we go. So I decided in the end to go clockwise. I've been working a lot with the Sri Yantra, as many of you know, and the Sri Yantra also has 16 petals in the outer ring. And one thing that's interesting about the Sri Yantra is when you get to be doing the 16 petals, they actually do go anti-clockwise when you chant the names. There's a different goddess that lives inside each petal. But generally, for the purposes of drawing, especially the Moon Yantra, can feel nice to do clockwise. And that is like you spiral around in that direction to the center. I'm hoping you're reflecting on what nourishes you. If you feel nourished, What's the opposite of nourished? I guess it's depleted. Undernourished, depleted, some way, right? You can be depleted in so many different ways. So now you have all the semicircles. The thing about the semicircles is they are just guides. They're guides to the drawing process. And we'll start by drawing one petal, and then I'll speed it up a little. You're going to start at the point. Kind of come down and around. You go out a bit, and then you go back in. You have a nice central mark there. It's like the heart of the lotus petal, seeds. Sometimes I call them the seeds. So this shape goes around, and you want to feel like they touch. So it goes out, it just touches, it goes back in. And this point is a nice thing to have, so a good point, and then go around, then go back in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the outer ring, then I'm going to do the same thing here. These obviously will be a little bit different shape. Just based on the 8 and the space that they're in. So then I'll do 8 of those. And when I'm done, I will erase the semicircles, and I'll just be left with a lot of petals. Now we have our 16 outer petals, the 16 lunar rays. 16 is always associated with the moon. And we have our 8 petals for the elements and for the 3 states of being, 3 aspects of our being, physical, astral, and causal. So earth, water, air, fire, ether, and then the 3 states. And then we're preparing for the star.